I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater.
We begin today on a different sub, the Angler. Much like on the Seaview, the captain and his XO are the best of friends.
Coordinate 074, depth to bottom 199 feet.
Verified and charted. Proceed to next coordinate, Frank.
Yeah, very well. Right 10 degrees rudder. Steady on course 275.
Relay that.
Remember when Tom Skerritt was that young? Yeah, me neither. He was just getting started. He'd only been in Hollywood for about 3 years. Like a lot of folks, he started out doing character parts like this one. And then came MASH, the movie, not the series. In the movie, Duke Forrest, played by Tom Skerritt, was Hawkeye's actual sidekick. Trapper John didn't come along until partway through the story. A few years later, his role as Captain Dallas of the Nostromo clinched his fame. Right now, though, his part is fairly small.
You mean 295, don't you, Frank?
Negative. Our survey segments show 30 miles by 20 degrees of arc per sweep.
Remember, they're the best of friends, at least as close as Captain Crane and Chip Morton.
You failed to compensate for drift again, Mr. Richardson. Come to 295.
You're right, Jim. I'm sorry.
You're sorry for what? Your insolence or your stupidity?
This guy is so tight you could wear him as a girdle. What's going on here?
I made a mistake, Jim.
Captain, Mr. Richardson. Yes, Captain. Mr. Richardson, you try again. I said try
What's
it again.
wrong with you anyway? You've been on my back ever since we left that island.
What island? I have a feeling we need to know more about this.
We're supposed to be friends.
Friends! I hated confidence, and you're the worst bungler that I've ever had to deal with.
Why, you blowhard know nothing. If it wasn't for me, you'd be at the bottom of the sea.
The captain has clearly lost it. Hitting his XO could land him in prison, but he's so far gone he may not even realize what he did. The other men will do their best to wrestle him to sickbay.
I'm gonna kill you. I hate you, Richardson.
No, Jim!
I hate your guts. I've always hated you.
As I said, it was a small part, but both he and Robert Sampson as Captain Williams nailed it. We saw Mr. Sampson in a couple of episodes of Wonder Woman. He was one of those character actors who was all over the place. Right now, he's all over the ocean floor.
Yes, Chip.
Oh, no. Woodley, what the devil is it?
He's testing the water salinity at various depths. In a few seconds, that's not going to seem very important.
The Angler. It went down. About 200 miles away from us. Any survivors? No.
That really hurts. They were both good friends with Williams and Richardson. Crane describes them as two of the most decent men he ever knew. Washington wants the Seaview to investigate the wreck and find out what happened. It's not hard to locate the wreckage, and what they find there provides more questions than answers.
There she is. 200 feet beneath the surface.
Well, some of them might have gotten out. I mean, there may be some survivors in one of the compartments.
It's possible.
If anybody survived, they had to have a suit of armor and gills.
No. No one got out, Lee.
She must have hit that mountain at full speed. Why?
Divers will go see what they can recover of the ship's logs, recordings, and whatever else they think might be useful. I'd go for the food, but that's just what I always do.
Made a mistake, Jim.
Captain, Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Captain? Mr. Richardson, you try again. My sense right.
What's wrong with you anyway? You've been on my back ever since we left that island.
We're supposed to be friends.
Friends! I hate incompetence, and you're the worst bungler that I've ever had to deal
Why,
with.
you blowhard? No, nothing. If it wasn't for me, you'd...
When it gets to the shooting, they have to turn it off. You can't blame them. Now they know what happened, they don't know why, so that's the next step.
They were friends, Admiral. As close as...
Yeah, I know.
They're guys, so they're not allowed to say it out loud, but we know what he's thinking. They were as close as we are. But it's unmanly to verbalize such things. They need information about this island he mentioned. Once they blow the captain's safe open, they find it.
1,300 hours, continuing on our charting mission, came upon an uncharted island.
Richardson mentioned an island on the tape.
I seem to have been having trouble ever since they left that island.
When the weird collection of people on the island learned that these guys weren't there to fix the minnow so they could go home, they turned hostile.
There's no clue why. It says, island was fog-bound, angler circled, trying to find a channel to the reef that surrounds it. Williams and Richardson went ashore in a raft. Now, his entry reads, we explored the island, found it uninhabited, and returned to Angler.
Based on subsequent events, I'm going to say it's not uninhabited. But what did it do to them? They'll track this island down and go find out. Today we have satellites that can see every little speck of the globe, so if there are any uncharted islands left out there, I figure they're about the size of a quarter. In 1965, it was easy to come across small, uncharted bits of land like this because the only way to get an island on the charts was to come upon it, and if it was outside the usual shipping lanes, that wasn't likely to happen anytime soon. So this isn't an unbelievable scenario. Locating the island isn't difficult with Williams's notes. Admiral Nelson and Captain Crane take the mini-sub to the only small beach in the place and commence exploring. They're in contact with the Seaview through a pocket radio. We'll discover later that those things are all over the place. They're supposed to cover every bit of the island, so there's nowhere an intruder could hide.
Looks like some kind of jungle cat.
And it's deadly.
Not only that, somebody already stuffed it. Lee, I don't think we're alone here.
Look, there's another one.
They've killed each other. Nothing can make one of those cats kill its mate.
Obviously something did, so you might want to revise that statement.
Papaya. You want one?
No, thanks.
Since you have no idea what's going on here, you probably shouldn't have one either.
Someone's watching us.
I've had that feeling ever since we came on the island.
Quicksandly.
Why do I have a feeling the Admiral just dodged a bullet without realizing it? Every weird, creepy, scary island on Earth has one of these places. It's in the rules.
Television camera. Let's hope they're also listening. Emergency Seaview. This island is inhabited. Returning to Seaview immediately. If we're not aboard within an hour, tear the island apart.
Chip will have a landing party standing by. Let's get out of here. Oh, come on, you two. If that's not a trap, I'll eat it. Do not take the bait. Told you. His size is an optical illusion. One of his scientists created this room to screw with people's heads. The closer he gets to them, the more normal size he gets.
Who are you?
I'm General Tao. Oh, I keep forgetting. I was never a Greek guest in this room.
It's an amazing effect, especially for 1965 television.
What brings you to this island?
We were charting the coral reefs, and our radar picked it up. We had no idea it was inhabited.
Well, this island is a territorial possession of my government. It's a top-secret research installation. And you two are intruders.
Our apologies. In that case, we'll leave at once.
I'm sure he's going to let you.
A few days ago, two of your countrymen were here. As we always do when someone comes on this island accidentally, we made it appear to be uninhabited.
Why did you reveal yourself to us?
Because I'm convinced that this second visit is no coincidence. You Americans are snooping. Now, I demand to know why.
Nelson explains that those men had an accident and they've been tasked with finding the cause.
An accident? What kind of accident?
I can't answer that question, General.
You mean you won't answer it?
No, he means he can't. He doesn't know exactly what it was yet. That's why he's here. But he's one of those lousy commies from the People's Republic. They're a dictatorship, so they don't understand stuff.
Tell me, was the accident a fatal one?
It's none of your business. Let's go, Lee.
Told you. They take the guns, the radio, even the Admiral's watch and Crane's ring. Tao tosses them in a cell. Chip Morton is following orders. His landing party is at the beach.
Okay, men, keep your eyes open.
Please, do not attempt to come ashore.
And somehow I have a feeling they're going to stay at the beach.
2 of our men are on this island.
They returned to the submarine an hour ago.
They have not returned. I request permission to come ashore and search this island.
Well, that I cannot permit, but you have my word. They're not on this island. There are the marks they made when they pushed their submarine across the sand and into the sea.
There's no negotiating with this guy. They have to turn around and head back to the Seaview. But no matter what the general says, Chip knows if an officer of the People's Republic writes you out a promise, the best thing you can do with it is use it for toilet paper.
I think, my dear doctor, that we shall soon be able to leave this island.
Leave? Oh, no, General. I still have many more experiments.
Hello, Malachi Throne. It's always a pleasure to see you. He's an old friend of the channel. I've lost track of the shows we've seen him in. His most iconic role, at least as far as Irving Zoo is concerned, is Falseface in the Batman series. That's the one folks in the comments tend to remember best, but he could play just about anything. The man had phenomenal talent.
For months you've been experimenting in animals, turning natural friends into enemies by electric brain stimulation and by drugs. I'm interested in what it will do to people.
The drug is already polluting every plant and stream on this island. The preliminary tests are most encouraging.
Now we know how those guys got dosed. They ate something or drank the water. That quicksand saved Admiral Nelson from the same fate. Our general is tired of preliminary tests. He wants to see it work on people, and they have a pair of perfect subjects on hand. But our scientist, not being a military man, isn't in as big a hurry as the general is. He's doing science, not trying to create a weapon. The fact that his creation can be used as a weapon is basically a perk. He likes the idea of using Admiral Nelson and Captain Crane as his test subjects, but he'll do it his way, and the general can just put up with it.
I must make certain if they are truly friends.
Now, how do you intend to determine that?
Only the strongest of friendships can survive isolation, suspicion, and stress.
To that end, they've now been separated. Crane is in an austere cell with a small cot and no amenities at all. Nelson is in a nice room with a bed, a table, a lamp, and some books. Next, he lets them see each other.
Picking up anything on sonar, Mr. O'Brien?
Negative, sir. Any word from Washington?
We've been ordered to continue searching the sea, but not to return to the island without clearance from Washington.
The Admiral and the Captain aren't in the sea. They're being held prisoners on that island.
Unfortunately, we don't know that for sure.
Because a general of a totalitarian communist country wouldn't lie, would he? Sonar picks up the mini-sub. It's on the bottom in much the same condition that the Angler was. They need to stop using mini-subs. I'm pretty sure they haven't brought one back safely yet. The wreck is 2,000 feet down, but they have a heavy-duty hard-hat diving suit that can handle that depth and a diver to go in it. I don't know what depth the sub is at, but if he goes down to 2,000 feet and bounces right back up, he's going to be as bent as a silly straw. We must have skipped over that part. He can't get the bodies out of the wreckage, but he manages to find something useful. And now we know why the general wanted those little trinkets. I wonder which of his men he sacrificed for this illusion and if they went willingly.
What do you imagine Captain Crane will feel when he sees Admiral Nelson in his cell with food, drink, and books apparently indifferent to his discomforts? He feels resentment.
Nelson hasn't eaten any of the food or drank the water. He suspects they're drugged. They aren't. The crew here has their own unpolluted sources. And I doubt that Crane is feeling resentment. He's just wondering why the difference. He's sharp enough to know the bad guys are running some kind of game on them. When they show Nelson what Crane's cell looks like, the doctor says he'll feel guilty because he has it so much better. For all his smarts and sciencey knowledge, he does not understand genuine friendship. They're both looking at their TV screens and thinking, thank God he's alive. I don't think our professor has ever had a real friend, so that thought won't occur to him. He's right that we humans are instinctively, inherently selfish, but we've found many ways to overcome that. These two genuinely have a selfless caring for each other. Our scientists think stuff like that is all just a veneer of civilization created to hide the actual animal drives that motivate us. This was the age of existentialism. Man is just another animal. Life has no meaning beyond what you make for yourself. Do your own thing. There are no absolutes. We're animals, and things like manners, laws, rules, even civilization itself are artificial constructs that we've created to try and give ourselves meaning, but it's all just a front. Underneath, we're just like those jungle cats that killed each other. That's the professor's basic operating principle here. He thinks friendship develops out of expediency. Each has something that can help the other, so they work together. God only knows what his definition of love is.
And the Admiral, he feels guilt. He is disturbed that he is relatively comfortable while his friend suffers in a bare cell.
He only pretends to feel that way.
Don't try to science, General. Go shoot a tree or something.
No, he does. But he tries to convince himself he has no reason to feel guilty. Then he recalls his entire past relationship with his friend. He tries to justify his guilt by seeking reasons why his friend should suffer when he doesn't.
They're both looking for reasons, but they know this is some kind of operation you're running on them, so that's what they're looking for the answers about.
And Crane tries to find a reason to hate Nelson, to justify his feeling of resentment and envy.
Precisely.
Neither of them understands friendship. Crane will be glad Nelson isn't going through what he is, and Nelson will be sad that Crane is. And both will resent their captors, not each other. They're trained and experienced military men, and they know psychological torture when they see it. They know how to deal with it. Science that, Professor. The professor says their resentment for each other came out, but they suppressed it. He's wrong. They were both acting according to their training. Be ready in case it's an enemy, but also be ready in case it's a friend. That's what they did. The moment they recognized each other, they lowered their weapons.
You all right, Lee?
Everything okay?
Yeah, fine.
Excellent. Their hostility has immediately dissipated. They are genuine friends.
He finally got something right. Again, they know this is a head game. The question is, why the guns? What are they supposed to do?
We'll turn them against each other.
But first, we must set them free.
Set them free?
Of course. So they will unite together in a common struggle for their own survival.
Like the peoples of a nation at war.
It's nice that the professor is dumbing this stuff down for the general.
Precisely. And they will consume the drug in the water they drink and in the food they eat.
Whereas the professor is making tea with that, I think I might be inclined to take my chances with the drug rather than drink water that already has dish soap in it.
Doctor, I'm beginning to appreciate the scientific method.
Even if I can't spell it. There's nothing for our boys to do but follow directions and see what happens next.
I thought there was no place on the island that could hide from our cameras.
There isn't. Let the automatic tracker locate them.
It was doing fine until you started fiddling with things. Nelson and Crane have noticed the cameras.
I wonder what they're up to.
I don't know, but they're obviously engaged in some kind of research, and we're being used as guinea pigs.
What kind of research?
I don't know for sure. They seem to be trying to pit us against each other.
In that single bite, Captain Crane has consumed 20 micrograms of the drug.
Let's hope it's not enough to do what it did to Williams.
A dose so small that it cannot be seen except with a microscope. Yet within a half hour, he'll begin to hate his closest friend.
Never mind.
They seem to be trying to make us fight.
They want to find out if we're really friends.
What could they possibly do to turn us against each other? What did they do to Williams and Richardson?
For a second, I thought the light had come on, the bell had rung, and they had figured it out. Not yet.
Same thought just passed through my mind, but they didn't do anything to them.
And yet, after spending just a few hours on the island, they turned against each other. Why?
The only explanation I can think of is that they were drugged.
But how?
By doing exactly what you're doing now.
He ate several of those. I suggest he give his gun to the Admiral just to be safe. Nelson has an idea about the cameras that are tracking them.
Automatic camera, transmitter, self-activated.
Self-activated?
This little component here turns on the camera anytime anything moves within camera range. Means their systems are vulnerable. Look for another camera.
Motion detector devices had been around since World War II, where they were better known as radar. In the 50s, some folks started applying the basic principle to a smaller scale, and the rest we know every time we walk into the average supermarket.
We aim the two cameras directly at each other. Self-activators will lock, and the automatic monitors will no longer work.
What's he gonna do?
He thinks he knows how to jam our television.
Guess what? He's right. The tracking system is offline, so to keep watching them, the professor will have to frobnicate with switches and knobs like the general was doing. If you're not familiar with that word, let me set forth the difference between tweaking, twiddling, and frobnicating, usually shortened to frobbing. This is not original with me, by the way. I don't know who came up with it, but I do know I won't take credit for it. So, if something is almost set right but needs a little fine-tune adjustment, he's tweaking it. If it needs to be adjusted enough to bring it into the general neighborhood of functionality, he's twiddling it. But if he's moving the switches and knobs because it's fun to do and they make fun noises, he's frobbing it.
Seaview's not here.
What happened to Chip? We ordered him to land if we didn't return. Where is he?
I don't know.
Oh, and I get my hands on him.
Take it easy, Lee.
He disobeyed orders, Admiral. I'm going to break him.
He didn't disobey orders. He came here with a 5-man squad and met a 500-man squad with many, many guns. What would you do, Captain? But the Admiral needs to pay closer attention to Crane because it's clear that the drug is starting to work. So don't just stand there, Admiral. Tell him so. Remind him.
He won't answer that danger signal. He's afraid to. He's a coward.
Let's give him a chance, Lee.
I tell you, he's a coward. He wouldn't risk his life to save us.
One time in all these shows, we see a Colt 1911 automatic behave like a Colt 1911 automatic. Which is to say, when it's empty, the slide stays back. You don't keep pointing it and have it go click, click, click like we see so often. Somebody let Richard Basehart have a real gun on set. I hope it was loaded with blanks or they'll have to replace a few lights. But now the guy with the drug on board has a gun and the sober guy doesn't.
Would you give me a gun, Lee?
Why?
To signal Chip, of course.
That's not why you want my gun.
It is, Lee.
No. You're trying to get my gun away from me because you know how I feel about you.
Remind him about the drug, Harriman. You might be able to avoid this if you remind him that he's under the influence.
Well, of course I know how you feel about me. We were friends, Lee.
Friends? We're not friends. I don't have any use for you.
Oy, oy, oy. Did Nelson forget about the drug? Reminding him about it would be the smart thing to do. That would be the opposite of the smart thing to do. Now he's angry enough to start shooting. It descends into a deadly chase through the jungle. That's a natural spring that's uncontaminated, and that thing he's messing with is a hose connection. A nice big fire hose leads from that spring to guess where? And that is their water supply drawing from a contaminated source. Are we going to see the professor and the general fight?
None of our cameras are picking them up.
Patience, General. Patience.
Patience? I've been patient long enough.
I'll take care of this myself.
But what about testing your cool new weapon? I think he forgot about that. And if he thinks Crane is angry at Nelson, just wait until he sees the guy who did all this to him in the first place. I can see two possibilities. One, Chip finally convinced Washington that he explored every other possibility and got permission to hit the island. Two, Chip got tired of waiting and not knowing and told Washington to blow it out their barracks bag. Well, he got the gun, but I hope it's several feet long so he can use it to keep himself afloat in that stuff. I guess we won't see him and the professor duke it out. But now there's the matter of Captain Crane. Never mind, they're on it. Later, he's in his quarters resting.
How do you feel, Lee?
A lot better. How are you?
Fine.
I wish we could have blown that island out of the water.
No, that would have jeopardized our relations with a friendly nation, Lee.
Eh? From the very beginning, the People's Republic has been an enemy, or at least not someone we want our daughter to marry. Where does he get friendly from?
Of course, when they find out that I have moved their pump from the reservoir to a contaminated lake, there may be a few protests.
If there's anyone left alive to protest.
That's it. That's what we get from the minute or so it took to do that shot with him dragging the hose all over the place. Nothing. I don't know if the screenwriter or the director made that decision, but they need to be docked a day's pay for it. Talk about anticlimactic. In the end, they don't even know about the professor. They know there's a slew of guards and a dead general. And as a result, we don't get any resolution with the professor. I came away from this one feeling rather unsatisfied. It feels like a waste of Malachi Throne. He didn't really do anything except talk and make tea. And we didn't even get to see the result of the magic tea. The general and the professor with the drug in their heads should have been the climax. Instead, it just falls flat. Kind of like the general did.
I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me. And all I gotta do is breathe underwater.
Or else they think, but yeah. Why do I? And probably saved Admiral Nelson from the. No, there's no probably about it. Yes. Quit trying to drool all over yourself.